Praying like that. Don't let the master see you praying like that. Or the scene in which he heard bongos, drums in the night, in the woods. And he went looking for the drums. And he saw a man there playing the bongos. And he said, Assalamu alaikum. And the brothers on the bongos stopped his bongos. He said, Wa alaikum salam. And he said, man, these Africans here are strange. They're Africans, but yet they're not. They don't know who they are. Said, yeah, that type of thing. This was en route. But the Islam was not highlighted. Because with the stir that Roots caused, and since Roots caused such a stir, the Islamic revival should have started then. But the Islam wasn't highlighted. It was in passing. In passing. And then in one scene when he's whooped, and, you know, what is your name? What? Kunta Kinte. What is your name? Say Toby. That's a nice name. Say Toby is your name. And then when he finally says Toby, they show the sisters and how the sisters are dressed. And they're wrapped, you know, scarves on their head, wrapped and so on and so forth, which was a bit, that was factual. That was factual. But it's played down. Toni Morrison, in her book, The Song of Solomon, she did like a little song in it. Solomon and Rina, Belali, Shalut, Yaruba, Medina, Muhammad too. Nestor, Kalina, Saraka cake. Like a little song type thing. Belali, Medina, Muhammad. No explanation and no reference to Muslims. The Daughters of the Dusk begins with an old man praying. He's praying, Muslim, praying. No explanation is talked about with Islam in South Carolina. No explanation. On the Amistad, they were Muslims. Now I know Spielberg supposedly dealt with it a little bit, but you can't have a Zionist Jew telling our story. You can't have a Zionist Jew telling our story. And if you check out how Steven Spielberg did Schindler's List, and how much of an impact that had on the people, and how the people were like, when they came out of the movie, they was like really, man, thinking and so on and so forth. Amistad didn't have that type of impact, because the Zionist Jew was telling our story. Ain't no way that a Zionist Jew is going to make the slave trade look worse than the Holocaust. Even though 50 to 100 million people were lost in the slave trade. Even though 50 to 100 million people were lost in the slave trade in the Middle Passage. Sharks used to follow the boats. Because it was so customary for bodies to be thrown off the boats, sharks just followed the boats. Imam Musa talked about the bones that are at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. The bones of our ancestors at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. But Steven Spielberg ain't going to tell our story, but these were Muslims. 30 years, brothers and sisters. 30 years, hardly any dealing with the Islamic heritage of the African slaves. Most of the slaves who went to Louisiana, Muslims. We're talking about like 60%. Fulani, Wolof, right? Mandinka, at least 60%. Louisiana, Georgia, and South Carolina were places with majority of Muslims. And those places, meaning that those places, Louisiana, Georgia, and South Carolina, the slaves who went there were majority Muslims. Right. But no mention to me of that. The past 2 years, Muslim books have come out. Muslim books have come out. African Muslims and anti-South. 1984. African Muslims and anti-South. 300 pages. And he has since made a concise book, the same topic, much more concise. But it's based on African Muslims and anti-South. Also, probably to date, the most important book on African Muslims, the most important book that has recently come out, Servants of Allah.